I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Great.
Right. So, hello everybody, and welcome to our live webinar. We have a lot of interesting topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about a little bit the Israel-Iran war. We're going to see some forecasts. We're going to see what the algorithm thinks about the future, about the next month. We're going to see some main indices forecast. Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
It's good.
So we have a really interesting webinar today, and we're gonna also expose the June portfolio, which worked pretty amazing, and we're gonna see which stocks the algorithm actually chose. So we have a lot of surprises and a lot of interesting stuff today. So stay tuned, of course, until the end of this webinar. We're going to start in a few. We're going to start in a few minutes. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to ask us through the Q&A, not through the chat, and we'll try to answer all of your questions until the end of this webinar. And if there's going to be any alarm during the webinar, we might have to go for a few minutes. Um, so please be patient. It also can happen. All right, let's read the quick disclaimer before we want to start. I know First Daily Market Forecast does not provide personal investment or financial advice to individuals or act upon as financial, legal, or institutional investment advisors, or individually advocate to purchase or sell any of the security or investment or to use any of particular financial strategies. All investing stock forecasts and investment strategies include the risk of loss for some or even all of your capital before pursuing any financial strategies discussed on this webinar. You should always consult with a licensed financial advisor. In other words, we want to show you the abilities of the algorithm. Do not use this as a actual investment advisory.
Exactly. And today in the webinar, we're going to see a lot of live or almost live recent examples from the market on Friday, some updated forecast for the upcoming month, interesting sectors that are emerging, interesting regions around the globe, and of course, the top stock picks that we are going to map together basically by using artificial intelligence. And we are going to teach you guys how you can do it by yourself, how you can utilize AI on a daily basis in order to identify the best investment opportunities every day. So shall we? Let's start.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, great. So, okay. Today we're going to have some very interesting subjects in the webinar. We are going to talk about the leading sectors right now in the market. And we're going also to drill down into those sectors and to identify together interesting investment ideas and stock picks and opportunities from those specific sectors. I see that some of you are raising their hand. Please use the Q&A in order to ask any question that you might have, and we will address all those questions during the webinar. So feel free to use the Q&A window, and we will try to address as many and to answer as many as possible questions during this webinar. I will start with a quick overview of IKnow First because I see some new people here in the webinar. IKnow First, we are AI fintech company. Our main solution is a predictive algorithm that generating daily forecast for the financial markets and identifying on a daily basis the most promising investment opportunities. We are utilizing artificial intelligence, more specifically deep learning, artificial neural networks, genetic algorithms to predict the financial markets. Our predictive algorithm is generating daily forecast for over 13,500 assets from different asset classes, ETFs, of course, equities, which is our main focus, commodities, currencies, interest rates, world indices with daily forecast for multiple time frames, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. This is a global solution. We are covering over 50 global stock exchanges, including the stock exchanges in the US, Canada, Europe, Asia. Basically, any significant stock exchange around the globe is being covered by our predictive algorithm. And basically, the predictive algorithm is generating the daily forecast on the very same time for all the entire universe, over 13,500 assets from different asset classes. And if we jump in directly to the market, Ben, tell us, what do we see here?
Yeah, we see here the option package for 3 days time frame. These are the best stocks that the algorithm suggested to buy for a period of 3 days. We can find stocks such as ARQQ, which actually belongs to the quantum universe. It's provide the quantum encryption. Very interesting stock that jumped by almost 10% in those 3 days. We can also find Oscar, OSCR, which is a digital health insurance company that also jumped by 13% and actually made a really significant move in the last few weeks. And many other stocks such as MP, AAOI that jumped 18%, or ASTS that we can find here. We're going to talk about the numbers that are in those squares, the signal and predictability. Those are the two indicators that we use. We're going to elaborate about them later on, but just to show you just a quick example from last Friday, the best 5 stocks that the algorithm suggested to buy for a period of 3 days.
Yes, and I think the most interesting, or one of the most interesting stocks here that is very popular in the social media is OSCR. And it is very interesting to see that the algorithm was managing to identify this move not only on Friday, but even we started to see these bullish signals already last Sunday before the trading week, and on the last 5 days, this OSCR jumped tremendously.
Yeah, by the way, one of the founders is Josh Kushner, which is the brother of Jared Kushner.
Oh,
that's related to Trump. So it's an interesting company, although it's in the healthcare universe, but it's providing a digital healthcare insurance.
48% over the last 5 days. 48%. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's meet the IKnow First team. The IKnow First predictive algorithm was developed by Dr. Lipa Reutemann, one of the leading experts in the field of AI, machine learning, with over 33 years of experience. Dr. Reutemann is from the Weizmann Institute of Science. He's an expert in the field of artificial intelligence, and he is leading IKnowFirst unique R&D team that includes PhDs, AI and machine learning experts. We have math professors from Tel Aviv University, as well as employees with the background of data science, math, statistics, physics. Ben Rubin, please introduce yourself.
My name is Ben Rubin. I'm the head of advisory in IKnowFirst. I used to work as a financial advisor as one of the biggest banks here in Israel, and I'm in IKnowFirst for eight years now.
Okay, and my name is Yaron Golger. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of IKnowFirst. I'm also lecturing at one of the leading universities here in Israel in the field of fintech and AI. I'm an engineer with MBA from the Ben-Gurion University. The IKnowFirst predictive algorithm is being trusted by the world's leading hedge funds, investment houses, banks, family office, as well as high net worth individuals and retail clients from all over the world that utilizing the predictive algorithm in order to identify opportunities in a daily basis in the market. And in this list, we can find leading banks, we can find here leading hedge funds, leading family offices, as well as leading investment houses. With some of those investment houses, we have also developed AI-powered products that are relying on our technology, mutual funds, and institutional products that are available, actually, that are being listed in the market right now. The solution that you're about to see has received several international awards from different entities, from UBS, from the Geneva Wealth Tech Forum, Entity Data in Japan, and you can see here several photos from those events. And we are really proud to cooperate with the Academy. We are lecturing for the third year already in one of the leading universities here in Israel. In our website, you can find different media coverage that are focusing on the IKnowFirst predictive algorithm, as well as client reviews that are also can assist you to identify the package that might be relevant to you, basically. Ben?
Yep, and feel free to join our WhatsApp community, our growing WhatsApp community. You can just scan the QR code that is on your screen or use the chat to enter or join our WhatsApp community group. We are uploading there almost on a daily basis forecast in the AI articles, and in the end of this webinar, we're gonna show the forecast of the Magnificent Seven for the next 2 weeks. So it's a really interesting place and interesting WhatsApp group to join. You get a lot of insights there, and it's of course it's free. So feel free to join our growing community.
Correct. So what do we do? Basically, we are offering two solutions to our client. On one hand, it's possible to utilize the AI predictive algorithm in order to identify opportunities and stock picks on a daily basis from the market that you would like to focus on. So if we're taking, for instance, the US market, it's possible to get daily forecast with the best opportunities, the top stock picks from the US market on a daily basis. We are going to discuss it on the first part of the webinar. The second solution that we are offering is basically a systematic solution when we basically offer or converting the daily forecast into a monthly portfolio, and or we are converting the daily forecast into basically financial product. It could be a mutual fund or an ETF that managing the portfolio in a systematic way. Here we can see an example. We are going to discuss it on the second part of this webinar, basically. The I-Know-First predictive algorithm includes 3 components. By utilizing the first component, it's possible to identify the most promising investment opportunities on a daily basis for different timeframes. It could be long-term, it could be mid-term, or it could be short-term. The second solution is basically a stock market intelligence component that assisting us to identify leading sectors around the globe, to identify leading regions, and also to stay away actually from sectors and regions that we should avoid at any given time. The third component is a customized component. It's providing us AI-powered basically portfolio forecast, custom forecast based on each client portfolio. So each client can send us his own portfolio, and from this stage on a daily basis, the client will receive on one end the top or the best opportunities in the market, and on the other end, he can receive also a custom forecast for his own portfolio, basically. So how we do it? In order to generate the daily forecast, we are relying on quantitative data sets that coming from the entire financial markets. We are using data that coming from the different equity markets that we are following, over 50 global stock exchanges. We are collecting data that coming from the interest rate environment, the commodities market, the currencies market. Basically, we are relying on data that coming from these different asset classes, quantitative data, a tremendous amount of, really large amount of data that is not, it's not possible to digest it without using AI, basically. We are adding the daily data to our database. We have a database with historical data, and around the clock, the predictive algorithm is learning and building the complex network that exists in the financial markets. The predictive algorithm is basically building, there is a complex network in the financial market with thousands of correlation sets, and the AI algorithm is able to build this network and to update this network. Basically, this network is being built from scratch on a daily basis without any human intervention. And you are receiving basically the bottom line, the best opportunities for the different timeframes that we see on the right, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. And this process is being done on a daily basis. So basically, every day before the market opening, when you're turning on your laptop in the morning, you're going to receive the best opportunities for the different timeframes that we see on the right: 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 1 month, 3 months, and also 1 year. In terms of the technology, we are combining different AI technology into one predictive algorithm. We are utilizing deep learning. We are utilizing artificial neural network, genetic algorithm, reinforcement learning, and the goal is basically to separate and to focus on the most predictable assets on a daily basis. So every day, the algorithm is separating and focusing on the most predictable assets, basically, and this process is being done on a daily basis. So if we're taking the S&P 500 as an example, every day the algorithm is separating and focusing on the most predictable assets from the S&P 500. So all the examples that we're going to see in this webinar are based on this investment universe of the most predictable assets. So if we're taking an example from the US market, and in order to understand how we're doing the stock picking process, we are monitoring the entire US market. We are applying our technology. Then we are applying our predictability filter in order to focus on the most predictable assets. Then we're creating a ranking of the stocks in order to identify the best stocks on a daily basis. And this process is done on a daily basis, basically. Ben?
Yeah. Let's talk about how to read the forecast and how it actually looks like. And we can see here an example for a 1 month time frame. we can see that we have green cells that represent a long position, and we have some red cells that represent short position. This is a long-short algorithm, opportunities for long and also opportunities for short positions. And we are using two indicators to locate and identify the best stocks to invest in. So we are using two indicators. One of them is the signal, which is the number that is located in the center of each and every square. And the signal actually represent the predictive movement of the asset or the price deviation of the specific asset. It's our internal index, and it's help us to actually rank the entire investment universe from the assets that's supposed to jump or move in the highest way. It's located on the top left of this table. In this case, it's NVIDIA. And going down to the right, we can see the signal is going down and getting weaker and weaker until we have the most positive negative signal that is in the bottom right of the table, which actually represent the movement that the asset should go down in the strongest way. So this signal, again, help us to actually rank the entire investment universe, and we go out through all our forecasts. In the same way, we are using the predictability indicator. The predictability is actually located on the left bottom of each and every square. You can see that NVIDIA, in this case, has a predictability of 0.46. The predictability indicator is actually Pearson correlation measurement, and it moves from -1 to 1, while 0 represents 50% probability that the asset will move to the predicted direction. So we would look for highest predictability levels, and that's how the algorithm is actually, it can forecast and read the specific asset. How good can the algorithm forecast the specific asset? So in both of those indicators, we will look for highest values. The highest the signal, the highest the predictability level will give us an ideal investment. And we're going to see a few examples from the past few days. All right. Before that, we can see here 3 days forecast in this case. Okay. All right. So before that, we can see how the forecast actually looks like. Every day, you'll get into your email those 6 time frames that Yaron mentioned. And in each and every time frame, you have 10 stocks for long and some stocks for short. We actually said that the red squares represent short position or sell positions. And you can see 6 different time frames from 3 days, 7 days, 14 days. So if you want to trade for a longer period as 3 months and 1 month, you can locate it and focus on the higher time frames. And if you are looking for shorter actions or shorter transaction, you can actually focus on the 3 days and 7 days. And I'm going to show you a few examples from the last few days. We can see in the 3 days time frame. For example, in this specific forecast, the algorithm gave us the best 10 stocks to buy for a period of 3 days. This forecast was generated on June 18, 2025. We can see it in the top, sorry, of the forecast. And to the right, we can see the performance of those 10 stocks that the algorithm actually chose for us to buy and hold for a period of 3 days. We can see, for example, MP that made in those 3 days 6.3%. We can see ARQQ that we saw earlier that moved 34%. We can find again OSCR that we talked about earlier, moved 31%, and that's in a period of 3 days only. And in the bottom, we can find the INO first average, which is the average of those 10 stocks. And it's also compared to the S&P 500 performance that in this specific forecast, we can see that it actually was negative by 0.25. So the algorithm actually succeeded and found stocks that went up while the S&P, the benchmark itself, went down. That's really remarkable. We can also see some stocks that didn't go to the right direction. We can see those small X's next to them. And of course, the algorithm is not always 100% right about all the forecasts, and we have some exceptions. Another example is the 7 days. We can see that the signal and the predictability are getting higher and higher as long as we go up the time frames. In this case, we can find some interesting stocks, such as the GEOS, which actually belong to the oil to energy company that jumped by 37% in those 7 days. This forecast was generated on 10th of June 2025, not long ago, and it's a 7 days forecast, which means the algorithm tells us to hold those stocks for 7 days, and you will see the performance to the right here. And in the average of those 10 stocks was 9.2%, while again the S&P was negative in those 7 days. Another interesting example is the 14 days time frame. Of course, you're getting all the 6 time frames on a daily basis to your email before the trading starts, and you can plan your day.
Before the US market opening, I see some questions from the crowd, so allowed me to interrupt. Yeah, those forecasts are being sent every day around 5 a.m. Eastern time. The forecast for Monday is being sent already on Sunday, basically.
Yeah, and in this specific forecast, we can see a 14 days time frame that was generated on the 3rd of June. And we can see some interesting stock here, such as SMR. If you know it, the interesting stock that actually developing in nuclear reactors. And we can also find Lemonade, Beyond, and many other stocks that made some significant move. Groupon in the head of this forecast, which has the strongest signal. We can see here the signal of GRPM was 1.54. And we can see the predictability is here to the bottom left of each and every forecast and each and every stock. And of course, we'll try to focus on higher predictability levels. The higher the predictability, the better is the investment, because the algorithm can read and forecast this stock in a better way. So we want to focus on the high predictability levels, and then find the highest signals. So this was an example for the days. And of course, we have also examples for the longer time frames of 1 month. And we can see some interesting stock here, such as AR from the quantum universe, such as, and so QBTS, which also belong to the quantum. We can see NVIDIA. We can see APLD, which is actually a cryptocurrency company, crypto mining company, that also is actually developing high computing, that made 52% in this 1 month. So we can see that the algorithm gives us a variety of stocks from all the universe from the American market, American stock exchanges. And we can see the performance of those stocks in this month was 23% in 1 month, while the S&P made 2.1%, which is remarkable for a period of short month. And another forecast that we provide you that I'm really like this time frame, the 3 month time frame. We can see here that the predictability is much higher than the other time frames. So try to focus on the highest predictability levels. We're going to say that a lot in this webinar. The predictability is a key factor of optimal investments. Try to focus on the highest predictability levels. And in this case, we can see even a forecast for the Bitcoin, Uber, we can see Palantir, which the algorithm predict really good, because we can see that actually in Palantir, the predictability level is the highest predictability level out of the 10 stocks that we see here. And if I had to choose one of the stocks, I would focus on Palantir. From the 20th of March, we can see that it actually made almost 60%. In the same way, we can find the Hood, which also have some higher predictability levels and made 83%. So focus on the longer time frames, the long time frames, which has high predictability and high signal. And of course, to whom of you that like to invest for a long time period, for 1 year, half a year, you can also find a prediction for the next year, for the best 10 stocks to hold for the following year. That was actually generated on June 19, 2024. And we can see some interesting stocks such as VRT, TSM, SE, and RKLB that made some significant compared to the 9% that the S&P 500 index performed. So we can see here that the predictability again is actually higher, and it's the highest from out of the 6 time frames, and we can see really strong signals here. So focusing on the longer time frames of 1 month, 3 months will give you better results with the focusing on high predictability levels. And some more examples from Friday, actually. We can see the tech package here, XLK, to whom of you that doesn't know, XLK, the technology sector. We have a special package for this specific sector that the algorithm can choose and identify the best stocks out of this specific sector. And in the 14 times frame, we can see that the algorithm focused on 2 stocks. It's actually providing you, I gave you just the first 2 and the last 2, and we can see MU and AMD, and we can see that those 2 stocks move up by 1.4 and 1.1% in just of a 1 day, of course, trading day. But in the bottom, we can find the NWO and Adobe that actually was negative on Friday. So the algorithm gives you 10 stocks to buy, 10 stocks to short. And we can see that even in a 1 day performance, although, of course, it's a 14 days forecast, we can see the performance already from the first day in this specific case. Another interesting package that we have is the AI package, in which the algorithm focus on the best AI stocks. It's kind of interesting that AI picks AI stocks. It's a crazy world. And also, you can also know and focus on the best stocks to be in. We can find stocks such as STNE, which is a fintech payment company in Brazil for Brazilian businesses. And we can find DraftKings and find some other stocks that are using or using some of the AI tools or models in their systems. So this is a really interesting package that's actually showing us really good performance in the last few months. And one of my favorite packages is the Buzz package. To whom of you that doesn't know, the Buzz is a popular ETF that actually contains stocks that are mentioned a lot in the social media or digital media, and you can find a lot of mentions of those stocks in those universe. So the algorithm actually scanning this entire investment universe and gives us the best stocks to invest in, and we can find a really a huge variety of stocks in this world that is really interesting, such as Nvidia, of course, or Palantir and Tesla. You can find the Magnificent Seven there. You can find Oracle, Nike, Breakshare, and many others that you talk about those stocks with your friend on the coffee break. So those let's say famous stocks are really interesting. It's a really interesting package that we suggest, and I specifically really loved in the last webinar. This is one of my favorite packages to buy, I think, for the next month, and I still think that this is a really interesting and potential package for the following weeks. And we can see some examples of this buzz. We can see the stocks that they actually the algorithm gave us to buy. And find the CVNA and HOOD, and even the Bitcoin currency itself. We also have a forecast on the Bitcoin, and we also added to this specific package the forecast of the gold, those stocks in one package, and the algorithm actually gives you the best package to invest again in 6 time frames. And so this is a really interesting package. We can see to the right stocks such as CrowdStrike, Microsoft, Uber, Netflix, and many others that actually performed really well from the beginning of 2025. And if we'll go to last Friday, we can also find
before last Friday, Ben, what's interesting, I think, in this 1 month forecast, the algorithm managed basically here to identify actually the best stocks of the month: AMD, Coinbase, HOOD. That, remember there was a discussion whether HOOD would join to the S&P 500 or not, and also Micron Technology. So just those 4 gave us a very interesting performance, and we can see that all the picks here outperformed the S&P 500.
Yeah, 9 out of the 10 outperformed the S&P, and even the longer time frame also really delivered. And if we're talking about last Friday, if you had the Buzz package on Friday and you open it and see the best 3 stocks to buy for a 3 days period, you would find Coinbase, AMD, and DraftKings. And you can see that those 3 stocks actually went up by 4%, 1%, and 2.3%. And in the bottom, you would find Adobe in the negative side of the forecast, and it's actually moved by minus 0.3 on the last trading day. Aerospace and defense, XAR. To whom of you who doesn't know,
Before
XAR.
XAI, we have the semiconductors.
Yeah. Sorry. We also have the semiconductors package, one of our leading packages that's actually scanning the best semiconductors stocks. And we saw that the semiconductor sector was amazing in the last few months. The algorithm is showing us many times that it's going to be the best sectors in the last few months. And you can actually check that in our last webinars. And one of the leading stock in this package was AMD, and we saw we can see here the forecast from 15th of April. AMD was in the head of this forecast. It had the strongest signal, It didn't have the highest predictability level. Here it's 0.51, but the signal was actually doubled than most of the stocks that we saw here. And AMD from the 15th of April made 46%. And it's not over yet because it's a 3 months forecast, but still 46% in 2025. I think it's priceless to have. One of my favorite.
Yeah, actually, one of the leading hedge funds that we are working with actually built a position around April based on this actually forecast, right?
Yeah. We are also providing the forecast for some of leading edge funds here in Israel. And we built a position about AMD and we followed it and told them what was the right timing to buy the stock. And we can see it by the chart actually that the timing here is pretty good. After the big volatility that we had in April, we All right. Another package that I think is really relevant for today, as you know, we are based in Israel, and we're having some challenging days, let's say, in the last few
Challenging
weeks.
nights.
Sorry?
Challenging nights, right?
Challenging nights, basically. Yeah. If you have kids, the nights are a bit harder. And another interesting package is the XAR, the aerospace and defense sector, which was also highly recommended by our algorithm in the last few webinars. If you'll check the recording, you'll see that we pointed this specific sector as one of the leading sectors even before the war started. And now it's even, I think, more relevant. And we see that this specific sector from April, like the beginning of April, almost made almost 44%, 43%, which is pretty amazing for a sector. I think it's the leading sector from April, maybe beside the semiconductors. But we also have a package that can drill down for this specific sector and pick the best stocks out of the aerospace and defense sector. We can see it in the next slide, the company that's called KTOS, that actually to the right here, we can see was in the head of our package, in the XAR package for 3 months with the highest predictability level and the highest signal. And KTOS actually really outperformed the market. This is a drone company that actually works for, have a lot of contracts with the Navy, the US Navy, and we can see its performance from actually March 25, that with a movement of almost 35% after being in the head of our forecast. So this is, I think, in these days, whatever happening in the Middle East, I think aerospace and defense is still going to be one of the most popular sectors in the investment world.
Yeah, and by the way, what's interesting about this forecast is why it was a good idea to choose KTOS because of the predictability. We can see that the predictability of KTOS is higher if we comparing the predictability with other assets that are appearing in this universe. So KTOS was the most predictable stocks from the XAR basically, and jumped in this time frame in accordance with the forecast.
Yep. Another interesting package that I really like, it's the ETF package. And the ETF package, we owe it a lot in 2025 actually. It also helped one of our hedge funds to focus on the European universe, European stock exchanges instead of the US one. And we can see that in the 5th of March, in this specific ETF package that chooses the best ETF out of the US universe, of course, they are all American ETFs that traded on the in the US stock exchanges. And we can find the ETFs such as the EWP, which is Spain, EWL, which is Switzerland. We can find EWG, which is Germany. And the majority of the ETF here are focusing actually on the European stock exchange that we have on the beginning of the year, and that help us to actually avoid the drops that we saw in April and in the beginning of the year as well. And so this specific package I really like, and we can find again to the right that in 12th of May the main focus went back on the US. We can see XSD, which is the semiconductors universe, equal weighted. We can find the SOX that you all know. We can find the XLK, XSW. XSW is a software and services sector, and many others that actually performed really well from the 12th of May. One of the most popular packages that we have is the top 10. If you don't know in which sector you want to be or what to focus on, this package actually does the job for you, because it's taking the best 10 stocks out of the entire investment universe of the US stock exchange. It chooses stocks from the S&P, from the Nasdaq, from the Russell, and it's focusing on stocks that have a 2 billion market cap and more. And you'll so
Ben, can you repeat the last sentence?
One of our
I think
popular, one of the most popular packages.
Interrupted.
I'm sorry, yeah. So again, this is one of the most popular package that we have, and it's giving us the best 10 opportunity about the index itself. You can see it here in the middle of the screen. You have the 10 best stocks to hold for a period of 14 days, and a prediction about the S&P 500 itself. We can see it was positive, and we can see stocks such as the SPRO, Dave, W, AMSC, and many others from different universes and different sectors from the US market.
Right. I will just repeat for those of you that didn't hear well, Ben. So on one hand, this package is unique because it's providing two advantages, I would say. On one hand, it's identifying peaks across different sectors from the US market. On the other hand, it's also providing daily S&P 500 forecast for different time frames. For instance, here we can see the S&P 500 forecast that the algorithm had for the S&P itself on the 1st of June. We can see that it was a positive forecast. And we can see also the 10 picks of the AI algorithm across the different sectors in the US market.
Yep. And let's talk about June, this specific month. We had an interesting month, which the leading sector was actually the energy sector, XLE. We have 11 main sectors in the S&P 500. We can see that XLE made actually from the beginning of the month a performance of 9.14. And after that, we can find XLK, the technology sector, with 4.17. But what's interesting about this specific sector that you're actually not really exposed to it, because if you're holding the S&P,
yeah, so
Dow Jones has like 2%, and the Nasdaq doesn't have an exposure at all.
Yes, and the S&P has only 3% exposure. We didn't hear you at that point. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have some difficulties in the connection. I'm sorry for that. And so basically, if you're just holding the SPY or holding one of the main indices in the US, you're not really exposed to this sector. You're not really exposed to the energy sector that could be really interesting in those days when we have the Iran war still going on. So in IKnowFirst, you can actually get a specific package for energy stocks that's focusing on the best stocks out of this sector. The algorithm takes all the stocks from this universe, scanning them and giving you the best stocks to invest in. We can see here to the left if it's a 7 days or even longer time frames, and the algorithm provides you the best stocks to be in. If it's PLUG, as we can see here, or KOS or GEOS, that actually performed really well. And you can see at the bottom, the average of this specific forecast was 9.13%, while the S&P made 0.5.
Right. So if you would like to
Use the
get an
energy package
exposure.
that focus.
So basically, if you would
Exactly.
like to add, as Ben said, the S&P basically has only 3% exposure to energy sector. And if you would like to add more exposure, to add more diversity to your portfolio, and to get an exposure to this interesting sector, we do suggest to utilize this unique package, the energy package, that basically screening hundreds of energy stocks on a daily basis and identifying the best opportunities from this interesting sector.
Right. And if we focus on Friday forecasts, again, if you had this specific package, this is a screenshot from this day. We can see that the two leading stocks there, we can find GEOS that jumped by 35% on Friday. And we can also find GPRE that moved by 0.35. But those are the two leading stocks that were on the Friday forecast for a 3 days time frame. GEOS is actually focusing on sensing some oil and gas exploration, and actually works with the military as well. So it's actually really relevant to what do we see in the Iran war. So this is the energy package, which I think is really, really a potential for those days.